my brother and I, we took different, totally different musical avenues in our as when we started our careers, but we came from pretty much the same thing. It was jazz all week, because he became an audiophile too. He took over the legacy of my father buying records and playing records and having, high-end hi-fi equipment. He, went from like 3,000 LPs that my father had in the 60s to close to 500,000 records.
This is Rob Ruckus.
Hey, this is Kate Clover.
Hey guys, it's Nick Collins here from The Effect and Better Strangers.
Hi, my name is Madeline Rose.
Hey, it's Ben McKelvey.
It's Tim Howard here from Mike and the Mechanics.
Hello, I'm Amanda Lehman.
I'm Billy Harvey.
What's going on, everybody? I'm Casey Sampson from the band Twist Stop.
Hey, it's Tony from Fastball.
Hello, everybody. My name is Isaiah Mitchell.
Hey guys, it's Matt here from the White Lakes.
You're listening to Almost Famous Magazine.
Come join us for this interview. Check it out, Almost Famous Magazine.
Hey there, everyone. Welcome back to The Hang right here on Almost Famous Magazine. Thank you so much for the great support by subscribing, sharing our videos, telling your friends, and really opening people up to some of the amazing musicians that we have on the channel. And today is no different. Now, I'm going to be upfront with everybody. We could spend the next 3 or 4 hours talking about the resume of Reggie Washington. He's an incredible bass player, and he's recorded with so many people that you wouldn't believe. And I would love to list them all for you, but at the end of the day, we want to learn about Reggie and give him time to talk. So what we're going to do is jump right into things. Cool. Reggie, thanks so much for joining me on The Hang.
Great to be here, Scott. How you doing? Oh, for your day. This is my evening.
Yeah, no, it's daytime here in Texas, but you're in Brussels, which is a beautiful city, amazing place to live.
Yeah, it's a far cry from New York City, which was hustle, bustle for a long period of time until I got tired of it, and it's time to look for something a new chapter.
Yeah, one of the things I love about Brussels is Brussels. It's convenient to a lot of things. I traveled through Brussels once. Flew up to Copenhagen, came back, went to Huckelhoven, Germany for a concert, drove down to Paris. You can get anywhere, and you're centrally located in Brussels.
Central Europe, man. It's really cool. The only thing that's kind of flaky here is the weather, man. And for old bones, old hands that need to play all the time, it can be a problem. But I'm happy. It's cool.
Hey, and you know what? You're blessed with the ability to play, so that in and of itself is tremendous. But I have a snow allergy, so I tend to stay away from cold weather.
Lucky you, and yeah, man, and you're in Texas, so yeah, you're gonna get some flame down there, oh for sure.
Yeah, sometimes we get some serious heat, but I'm glad we're getting a chance to talk because I've been through your discography. I've literally looked through all your different recordings, and man, you are just all over the place with some amazing people. You are a jazz legend and a pioneer, and you've done some incredible things. And I want to learn about a lot of those today. But like we do here on The Hang, I want to figure out and find out and learn from you. When you were just little tiny Reggie, did you find music or did music find Reggie? How'd that work out? What was the impetus of your musical genesis?
Okay, let me encapsulate this because this can be long. My brother and my sister, who happens to be the better musician out of all of us, Kenny Washington, he's also a legend jazz drummer and historian. And my sister Yvette, she's a teacher and a professor of, violin, viola. She plays better than both of us, that's for sure, man. Man, music was there. Music was in the house. My father loved music. He used to play records all the time. We had thousands of records, classical, jazz, big band. He was a big band guy. And, it was just there. So yeah, instruments were there. It was a place, from the morning to the evening, music was being played. no doubt. So yeah, that's where I came from.
How did you gravitate toward bass? Was that your first instrument, or did you kind of have an evolution from different instruments into bass?
I did the evolution from every instrument because my father had access to he put together a workshop called the Staten Island Music Workshop in the late 60s, early mid 70s. And, we were getting grants and stuff from different schools, donations of instruments. And so some of these instruments had to stay someplace. So they were in my house. Altos, tenors. I played euphonium. There was a trombone. Soprano. There were flutes. So, clarinets. I was trying to play some of that stuff just to see what I could do. Violin, there were violins there. My sister, she just gravitated to violin. My brother also played violin, but I thought it was girly, so I switched to viola. That was also girly because I wanted to be, I wanted to be a basketball player and be 6'3", but 6'4", 6'5", but that never happened. So, I kept on going until I got to the cello. Because I played alto, tenor, baritone. Baritone was too heavy. Flute, that made me dizzy. Euphonium, sousaphone, those kind of things I tried to check out, but they were also heavy. I got to cello, and cello was like the human voice. It's a wonderful instrument to play. I'm good. I could say I was really good in that one, but there wasn't really a market or a place for young Black cellists, in anything in the 70s. Late 70s and into the 80s. So, we switched to bass. That had a couple of other ways that it different people coming to the house. Reggie Workman came to my house when we were young. That was like the first bass player I'd ever seen in my life, and the first bass that was sitting in my room just to look at it. Also other assorted bassists came to my house, like we see Chris White, Paul West, who became my teacher later on, and Marcus Miller, a young Marcus Miller, used to come to my house every weekend because him and my brother were good friends and they went to school together. So he wanted to learn about jazz music. So Omar Hakim recommended Marcus to talk to my brother. And Marcus would come out to the house, listen, eat my mother's food, and listen to jazz records and whatnot. And I was just sitting there looking, just want to be part of the whole thing.
That's amazing. Now, when you picked up those instruments, because I'm not a natural. I got to work at it. I really got to work at it. I've never had perfect pitch. And at this point in life, I got a little tinnitus. It's never come just naturally to me. When you picked up those instruments, did you just have a sense of how to make them sing, or was it a process that you went through to figure them out and put the notes together?
Man, they were there. It was curious. I was looking at them. We used to look at stuff on TV, like Don Kirshner's rock concert. We had the CBS Big Band. You would look at Johnny Carson, and they had Doc Severinsen in the band in the back. Plus, there were so many outlets for us to see stuff. I went to jazz clubs very early. I'm like originally a bongo and conga player because my brother and I had a percussion duo when we were younger, the Washington brothers. We used to compete in different contests in the New York City area. So we were around musicians, I was just seeing stuff. Wow, that's a cool looking instrument. Ooh, I like the smell of valve oil. That's cool. And just sit and figure it out. Figure out how to play it. I had perfect pitch. And when I was asked to have to read music, I just have to figure it out and just read it. I wish I had those skills now. I E flat instrument, B flat instrument, concert C. So what? It really didn't make any difference to me. And I wish I had that now, because it's, trying to transpose stuff. It's like, oh, geez, but it was, everything was there. It was just coming naturally. And, there were sort of people that saw promise and would just give me and my brother information. We were taking it in like, sucking it in like sponges. So yeah, it was pretty natural. And once we got the method to it, then it started to like grow exponentially. Where my brother was playing with, some future legends or legends at the time of jazz music when he was 15 years old. That's a couple of, he was playing with Jimmy Nepper and, assorted Jimmy Owens, assorted people, and was going to Jazzmobile and Muse, some of the jazz workshops in the 70s. And, he showed prowess. I was just watching and seeing what was kind of happening. I wasn't really a bass guy at all, more of a cellist, but yeah, it was there all the time. We got to see things like, for 2 years, every summer, we got to see Thad Jones and Mel Lewis Orchestra. In 1971 and 72, this was like a couple of pinnacle years in the Thad Jones and Mel Lewis Orchestra, man. It was amazing to sit behind Mel Lewis and Richard Davis and Roland Alexander, with Thad in the front of the band. And, I had a little soda pop and some pretzels and sit back there and then eventually go to sleep. My brother was checking all of this stuff out, and this was pretty commonplace for us anyway. I didn't know how special it was until I got older, and I'm able to look back at, stuff and the way kids are being taught now, because I'm teaching in Germany now with some of these kids, and they have YouTube as a teacher. That's okay. That's, but the hunger is not there, and, I feel good that I was able to be brought up in that, and also be in somewhat of a competitive, sibling rivalry situation with my brother, because he was a constant worker. He was a worker. I was a knucklehead. I would sight read music. I could read just about anything, and I had photographic memory. So I would just blink, go through it once or twice, and then I would remember it and then try to be expressive and play on this stuff. Too bad I don't have those skills now.
Excuse me, I'm impressed. I mean, I never had this. It was just it was a lot of work. It was a lot of work, and I can appreciate someone who it comes naturally to, because I talk to a lot of different musicians in different genres, and what you mentioned, having your brother, it seems that some of the musicians who tend to be, I'd say, a little more successful, have a sibling that they drive against one another, because it's that competition, it's that desire to be better than one another, to learn from one another, that really drives them towards a kind of a greater height in their career, because they've got that innate, I don't want to say fight, but that drive.
Man, my brother and I, we took totally different musical avenues in our as when we started our careers, but we came from pretty much the same thing. It was jazz all week, because he became an audiophile too. He took over the legacy of my father buying records and playing records and having, high-end hi-fi equipment. He, went from like 3,000 LPs that my father had in the 60s to close to 500,000 records and CDs. It's insane. We have a large musical archive. It's insane. And he's listened to most of this stuff. That's the problem with doing gigs, especially when I was younger, because my brother came out a few years earlier than me, maybe 5 or 6 years. And so when I got on the scene, people say, "Oh yeah, man, that's Kenny Washington's brother. He knows all those songs." But I didn't know all those songs. Not really. I didn't know titles. So you could play it, and I said, "Oh yeah, I know that. Okay, I can play that." But they used to take that for granted, you know. Yeah, it was easy, but once you open that door into the ism, then it got difficult. It's be all you can be, and if you can take it, you know, come with it. And it was, you know, it was cool. Now it's changed as, you know, as time goes on, because we're, you know, I'm able to turn around and look at something, you know, and it's very interesting to look at it and see the younger generation of musicians that have listened to whatever that, you know, that we played on. It's kind of funny. I'm just getting it now. The last like 6 or 7 years, things are starting to come back around. And well, Steve Coleman used to say, he says, "Man, just be patient. We're in that nebulous zone where we're not legends and we're not young bucks. We're not young bloods. We're in that zero zone." Ooh, you know, and
well, I think, but it says a lot, given that if you look at music today, a lot of people come and go. You have been able to make a career out of this. I was speaking with a drummer in the band Delamitri recently, and he goes, "I have the best job in the world." And he's not entirely sure how he went from one to one to one to keep it going, but he has. And he's had that staying power, right? He's the kind of guy you go to because you want him on your album or you want him in your band. And now we live in a day and age where people get, at least from what I see, they get discouraged easier. They're not putting in the 1,000 hours, and, you know, the woodshedding. I remember that as a kid, just spending hours trying to figure something out. And a generation of immediate gratification, I'm not entirely sure that it's the best for the mindset of someone who wants to be a great musician, because when you fail more than you succeed, but at the same time, if you're not patient enough with that failure, you won't find that success. So it's impressive that you've had this great career and you're still out there playing, and you're touring and you're an in-demand musician. And I think that's different than what's going on today in the business, where people just expect that fame and fortune to land in their lap.
And it's we were lucky. There's a swath of musicians that were lucky, where we came in behind some other legends that did the each one teach one, you know, tough love, you know, and plus there was more one-on-one, you know, there's more creativity, you know. The internet has been a blessing and also a bane to the music industry. It's horrible and it's wonderful. Like you said, the instant gratification. But then with the instant gratification, you're taking away the hunger, you know, where you can get like 4 or 5 young musicians all load up in a car in like 2 degrees Celsius weather to drive 3.5 to 4 hours to a concert that they bought tickets off of the radio to see. That's dedication. You are going for something, not, you know, going to YouTube and typing in your favorite musician and you can see their gig from the summer. You know, it's not the same. You know, I'm going to see George Duke, the Clark Duke Project in 1983 with my best friend, who's a bassist, David Innes. That was the most fulfilling for a young musician. I was 21, 22. I'll never forget that. It was the greatest feeling in the world to see this. I saw Roy Ayers at 18, which made me become a musician because of his bass player. God rest his soul. Kerry Turman says, "Hey man, just keep tough, keep plugging away, man, and you'll get it. longevity. And also Mike Clark, great drummer from the Headhunters. Uncle Mike said he said to himself, what is he chanting for? Because he's a practicing Buddhist. And I think Herbie Hancock asked him, what are you chanting for? To be famous or to be remembered? And he said, remembered. And that took that to heart. It's like, yeah, I want to be longevity, because you'll leave a lasting mark. Plus, this is a pretty fun job now. It is. Things have changed due to COVID, of course, but due to rising prices in flying, and we're having reduced budgets, and you got to keep plugging. You got to keep fighting, and the project that I'm doing now is like testament to that. Keep plugging along, and having an energy source. My wife, Stephanie Kellenberg Washington, you got an energy source, and somebody who's pushing too. You can keep this music going, make it timeless, have it say something, have it make a statement. That's another thing that's kind of dying out. Music that has some kind of message. It's just not a flavor, man. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, it's, if you think about it, I was in another conversation with someone about legacy of music. When you find a song or an album or even a songwriter who what they've created becomes timeless, right? Good example is Justin Curry is a lyricist from the band Delamitri. You can take songs he wrote 15, 20 years ago, and those lyrics are as poignant then as they are today, as they will be in the future. And I think that leads to that legacy. When you can create something that can't be placed in a one single time and place, but can be appreciated and enjoyed by multiple generations, you've got that legacy that keeps you alive long after you're gone. And I think that's something to strive for.
And there are a few musicians and few artists that possess that. Some leave this earth and are never known, which is sad. A friend of mine, his name Jeff Lee Johnson, great guitarist from Philadelphia, who passed away far too soon, was a composer, guitarist. He played with everybody, and you would notice he wasn't there more so than when he is there. You don't really hear, but he plays the right thing, and he's one of those types of composers. A longtime friend of mine, Adam Falcon, is also another singer songwriter that has poignant lyrics, things that are we're speaking of things 20 years ago, and then 20 years into the future, it still has the same weight as it did then. Yeah, I'm trying to do that now. Trying to do that. This is it's time to be documented. We're in some of these encyclopedias. It was kind of cool to show my brother. He says, "Yeah, man, you're in volume 1 of the Jazz Encyclopedia, but I'm in volume 2." Yeah, which is true. It's kind of cool.
You know what? Volume 1, volume 2, as long as you're not in the appendix or the afterword, you're okay.
For sure.
Let's talk a little bit about that. Like, what are you up to these days? You've got some projects going. I've looked through them. They look amazing, but you've got some purpose behind them. And I think it's important let's talk about that. And I want to learn more about the purpose, because it feels like there's a focus that you have in the creation of this project that is really about a greater good, a greater, broader sound for people to appreciate.
Indeed. Right at the pandemic, I was doing a vintage new acoustic, an acoustic jazz side of my ism, and the machine was just starting to run. We were getting some good feedback. It was a nice gig. Things were working, and then pink, done. You know, so we were in the house. I'm doing different stuff with my buddy DJ Grasshopper, who lives here in Brussels. You know, and also most of the time we were glued into our computers because this was the only lifeline we had out. And my wife Stephanie we were both looking at stuff that was going on around the world. This is insane. How this things are changing. There's just rampant violence. There's the ugly head of racism is rearing itself again. You know, and it just went to a boiling point, and my wife said, "Look, we have to be able. Let's say something musically. We have to denounce some of this stuff. We have to bring this to light. It seems like nobody's saying anything." So she started asking people in our immediate circle if they were willing to write music that would bring light and you know, bring some type of talking point, something to bring light to systemic racism that later in the world. We were just not just in the United States. It's everywhere. So when she did that, we got everybody started sending stuff to us, and it grew bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger until it got insane. So we decided to ask one of the finest engineers on the planet, Russell the Dragon Elevado, to mix this 20 tune double CD double record set, and he broke his foot off in it. It was wonderful. It's wonderful. It's entitled Black Lives from Generation to Generation, and we have like 25 composers. I think it totaled maybe 65 to 70 musicians. We did stuff remotely. Some people were able to get recording space, like limited during the pandemic. We were doing it, sending files back and forth. I think we had one session that was done in Mali. We had another one in New York during the pandemic, another one that was recorded in Guadeloupe. So all these things were being done all at the same time and sent in. He mixed them, we mastered them, and poof, put it out. And we were lucky enough to get the Deutsche Jazzpreis. It's one of the premier prizes in Europe from Germany. And we got third place. And there was one thing that was said, it's a wonderful collection of music, but it could certainly not be a band. And my wife took that to heart. So she made it possible for us to get together. Now, these are people that I've been working with for years, some as long as 40 years ago. Mark Gilmore from Boston, David Gilmore, guitarist, Jean-Paul Borelli, guitarist, Oliver Jean Lake, Andy Milne, Marcus Strickland, Federico Gonzalez Peña, Jacques Schwartzbart. From the first tour, there Christy Dachille, who is a new young up and coming vocalist from the Washington D.C. area. She's wonderful. She's a Grammy nominated vocalist. Ooh. And we have a wonderful vocalist from South Africa. Her name is Tutu Pwani. So everybody all together, including my man Grasshopper, and Sonny Troupé, great car player from Guadeloupe. They're all composers. We all got together and we went out on tour, and I was de facto musical director. so had to make a show. So that was, it was insane. But I had the cooperation from everybody in the band, and I just tried to put it together the best way I could and make a show and present it. And it works to the point where this aggregation of people became a band. And we recorded a second CD, which is entitled People of Earth, which we just released earlier this year. And that's really cool. I really like this CD. And I'm hoping that people get to hear it, you know, and really check it out, because it's still, we're still talking about, you know, systemic racism and the global warming, where we're talking about, you know, freedom of choice, you know, and togetherness. You know, music is medicine. You know, we have a message, and if it makes you feel better, we can put it to a beat.
Man, I love that. I love that. That is just, I got chills. I got chills because I agree with you. You know, I'm here in Texas. You're in Belgium. There are people that you've named from all over the planet, and we are all one and the same. We are all inhabitants of this special place that happens to have the right mixture of elements to allow us to live. And there's truly no difference between us because we're all made of the same stuff. And there's no reason why we can't work together in one beautiful place, make beautiful noise, bring to life the fact that we are all of one. We are not different. And I love
the
that.
Music, hopefully, breaks down those barriers, because people have to, if we just listen and then understand, instead of taking offense. There's always the you know, so come on. You know, I'm a baby of the 60s and the 70s. I've seen it. It was kind of strange to do research, because we had to, you know, you got to do research in order to really embrace this wholeheartedly and be able to impart some type of message. And to find out that I was born 3 years before Jim Crow was you know, before Jim Crow ended. 3 years? It was wow. Before they enacted the Civil Rights Act. It's like, wow, this is it's pretty new. We should be a little bit further ahead, but there are forces that are pitting people against each other. And once that veil is taken away, just got to realize this before it's too late, because the tipping point is upon us. It's upon us in many different ways, not just with the global warming and in this type of stuff, just as far as like people's sanity. You know, you see that change. I do a lot of traveling, and I see how people were acting before and how people are acting now. Much more guarded, much more introvert, and much more skeptical of just about anything. So it's a breeding ground for misinformation, for ill feelings. You know, negativity is always being taken. You know, and the only thing we're trying to do, I have a tune called Think. And all we gotta want people to do is think. And the whole object of these songs is, when you leave, I want you to be humming one of these songs as you walk out. You know, and if that happens, I know I've gotten through. So it'll work. It'll work. It'll work. We just have to, like, just wait and keep saying the same message. So we've been out touring through Europe. We're trying to get back to the U.S. We were in New York doing the Winter Jazz Fest, but it would be great to get back to the States and tour this, because it would be, I think this would be a good time to make some type of statement, at least at the beginning of this administration.
Yeah. I mean, I think the one thing that music has the power to do is to help people overcome fear, because music, it feeds the soul. And when we have a strong soul that is in a positive place, that fear dissolves because we have strength within ourselves. And that allows us to change our perceptions and how we think about things and really get down to how the world is connected, as opposed to focusing only on the disconnected pieces, which feed into our fear. So that's a great message that you've got there. And I really commend you on what
you said. An interesting word, connected. This is one thing that is woefully, it's people are just horribly disconnected. They can't see out of their bubble, or just that sphere that they feel comfortable in. Travelers, people that travel definitely have a different perception of how the world is. And I can remember when I was dreaming about it. Look, when I would get in trouble for being stupid in school, or getting in trouble for talking back, looking out the window in my room, just dreaming of being on that plane that was going over top of the Verrazano Narrow Bridge. And now to think about that, my whole frame of mind, the whole perception of people, of human beings, has changed, especially with the traveling. And then also being here and looking into the U.S., so many of the things that I did not see when I was living in New York City, even though New York City is one of the most cosmopolitan towns on the earth. And on some level, you can stay where I grew up in Staten Island. You could stay on Staten Island for your whole life. I know some people that have really, the furthest they've been is maybe North Carolina for the Christmas holiday, or maybe Atlantic City. That's about it. And we'll stay in that one place and have no, asking me questions. Oh man, so how do they treat you over there? Where are you? You're near that place where the big clock is? No, that's another country. So, that is the prevalent mindset of a good 100, 200 million folks in the United States. Unfortunately, they have to, it's got to open up, but it doesn't because of the internet. www. It just pulls you back in, and you can stay in there, for the rest of your life.
We are of kindred spirit, because I grew up, I was born in Manhattan and lived throughout New York and in Buffalo and Rochester. And since I've been away, I've realized exactly the same thing that you're talking about. I mean, I didn't grow up in Staten Island. You don't sound like you got the forget about it tone of voice.
I got some of this stuff, Yeah, every once in a while it comes out of me when people kind of get on my nerves. You know what I'm saying? It's funny.
For me, it's landing in a plane at LaGuardia and everything speeds up again, and all of the accent comes back. But it's when you think about, when you were first coming up, we lived in a very small world. Now I'm here in Dallas, you're in Belgium, and we're having a conversation, and we have this ability to see more of the world and know more people throughout the world than ever before. Yet at the same time, people have made conscious choices to actually understand less of it. And it blows my mind, because here in America, you may have we'll use a man, for example. A gentleman gets up in the morning, puts his pants on one leg at a time. Maybe he goes to a law office and he works throughout the day. He brings home some money so that he can provide for his wife and children a roof over their head. And in Marrakesh, in the market, a man wakes up in the morning and he puts his pants on one leg at a time, and he grabs his cart and he goes and sells his fruit, and he brings his money home so his wife and kids have a better tomorrow. yet we see them as different. Yet there truly are the same people with the same desires, and we are of one. And if you don't have that scope of the world, it's hard to understand that.
And it's you're in your little cubicle, your little block, whatever is cool. You really have to be able to look within to realize some of this stuff. Some of my old friends from the neighborhood, they're pretty content of being in the same place that they were when I left from there 45 years ago. It's totally, it's beyond me how they could, and talk about what they are going to do. It's like, but okay, all right. Yeah, man, you doing what you doing what you've been doing since, you was little in it. Yeah, that's right, man. It's taking me here. The best thing we can do is just, I guess, lead by example, or some of the folks that were left behind, show them the way, or at least give them some type of something that they could aspire to, or something. Say, yeah, man, I knew that guy, and I don't mind that at all. That's okay with me.
One of the greatest gifts we all have in life is we can wake up tomorrow and decide that tomorrow's going to be different and make a change. And I think that's the decision that many people have to make, is that, am I going to accept yesterday, or do I find a new tomorrow? Because we all have it within ourselves. You gotta make a decision to do something with it.
Yeah. So, and watch what's trying to make you not do that.
Right. Who's trying to control you other than you?
Yeah. And it's happening. It's happening every day. But I got some stuff that kind of keeps me on the ground and keeps me away from holes. Like my 3 daughters, and they definitely are. This is, they make it silver. That's what my sister told me. It's them. They make it silver.
Nice. Let's get a little bit back into music. What's been the most exciting gig you've ever had? Is there one that stands out, whether it was working on someone's album or a performance, where just every little piece of magic dust in the world came together, and that's the moment that you say, that was me. That I was where I should have been, and you felt it. Do you have one?
I know there are a few, and some of them came back from the other day. A Facebook friend, a great photographer, John Beek. He's developing some of his film cartridges that he's got, and he had some stuff from like 2002, when I was working with Roy Hargrove and RH Factor. We were doing a bunch of tours with Nile Rodgers and Chic, which was like magic, because these guys, Chic, Nile is a New York boy, and it was so wonderful to be around him and Omar Hakim. Recently, he sent this picture, and it just brought back great memories of us being in Nice Jazz Festival. Now, what you're mentioning could easily be, 1995, Branford Marsalis and Buckshot LaFunk at North Sea Jazz at the Stoughton Hall, the largest venue, and they have 2 stages. One stage had Tribal Tech, and the other stage we were on. So you don't really see the audience. When I first saw their audience, there was about 1,000 or 2,000 people, decent size, cool, great. We're behind our stage, behind our curtain, and then it's time for us to play. They open up the curtain, and the place is packed, and it's like 10, 12,000 people all in this club, and and it was the first time in a while that I was like nervous. So, that's butterflies. Wow, cool. You know, that everything just kind of came together as far as a concert is concerned. That's one that I can think of easily. And also for like when we recorded Hargrove with Roy Hargrove, you know, where in little bits and pieces everything was going and flying everywhere. And 5 days later, we have well, I was there for 5 days. 2 weeks later, we had a masterpiece, which we didn't know we had until like 10 years later, 15 years later, when people are asking, man, we used to play your stuff all the time, man. We just want to pay you homage. And so, oh, okay. Thank you. Appreciate that. You know, that's one of those little moments. But
I'm the hair on my neck is standing up just hearing these stories. They're
but
fabulous.
it's crazy. I there's many. I gotta write a book. Yes, I've thought about a couple of friends of mine. We've thought about writing books and just talking about things on the road, what was happening at those times, because a lot of those stories just go to, you know, fable or, you know, hearsay, and then they get forgotten. You know, thing is, that's the one thing that I enjoyed about being a young musician, being under these older musicians and them wanting us to be there to listen to the stories. And we got stories from all sorts of people. It's wonderful to listen, because then you understand where you came from, so you can have a better understanding of where you're going.
Nice. I think it's important because we talked a little bit earlier about young musicians these days and learning the art and the craft. And I'm a big believer in immortalizing lessons and things that have happened. What's one of the most valuable lessons that you've learned in your musical journey that someone else can benefit from understanding?
Oh man, be on top. You know, be on time. I'll say it twice. Be punctual. Be on time. You can even be early. Always have your equipment at the highest level. Never let it fall. Never, be reliable. Be conscientious to the music. You know, play to enjoy yourself, not for self-gratification. You know, play for the music. No less, no more, and no bullshit. Yeah, that's pretty much.
That's great. You've had an amazing career, and life in and of itself is a series of bets. Sometimes we make a bet on something that pays off. Sometimes we make a bet and it doesn't pay off the way we thought it would. Can you tell me about a bet you made in your career that totally paid off, and then one that didn't quite pay off the way you thought, but possibly became something better than you thought it could be?
The bet. The good one was what I'm living now, the Black Lives from generation to generation. You know, because I wasn't the one that was really behind this. I was saying, this is going to be a lot of work. She said, no, we need to do this now. We need to do this. And I thought, okay. And then it's gained steam, and it's so spiritually gratifying. And plus it gives everything a meaning. There's a strength behind this, and it feels good to be part of this overall strength. Now the one that didn't pay off, that's 1982. Yeah. 1982. Just got back into playing, got a call for a reference bass player to play for Anthony Jackson in the studio. And they thought of me, little 20 and a half year old Reg. Yes. So you got to come to Manhattan Studios. You know where Manhattan Studios is, right? Yeah. I know where Manhattan Studios is. I didn't know where Manhattan Studio was. So I thought I would find it and made a bet that I would find it, and I never found it. And to this day, I've even spoken to Anthony himself about this. Because this is, I met him after years and years after that. But that was one of the times where it didn't pay off. Making a bet. I know where it is. Don't worry about it. What's so hard about finding Manhattan Studios? And I never found it. I know where it is now, but not then when it counted.
Those are the days, and especially for those watching who have grown up with MapQuest or having a device that tells you where to go. Used to be in New York City, if you got into a cab, you really didn't give someone the address. You gave them the cross streets, and that's how you found something. So the bet you'd made was exactly. So without knowing the cross streets, you're not finding the studio.
Yeah, I had
because you landed on a corner,
and I thought I could look in the yellow pages, and nah, I couldn't find it, man. Oh well, I live and I learn.
Yeah, and so do we. We all do. And by the way, the Yellow Pages was a book we used to get on the front stoop that told you people's phone numbers. For those of you who never.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot. We could be talking to multiple generations here. Yeah, it was also. It also doubled as as your little brother's seat when he couldn't get to the top of the table for dinner. Or it might have been yours. I know it was mine. For a small period of time too. Yeah, the white pages was usually thicker than the yellow pages.
That's awesome. I mean, it's amazing the things that we have now and the things that we don't have. That it's like those, they bring back those memories. Like I had an aunt who, she had mothballs in her basement. She lived up in Westchester County, so you had these basements in the house, and the drum set was in the basement, and I could go down there and fiddle with the drum set. But it's that smell, that mothballs they used to use, and that whenever I smell that, it always takes me back to that room in the basement. It's amazing how memory works out.
Mothballs. Oh man, the attic was. Oh, yeah. That in the bicycle room at the downstairs, it had that smell. Yeah, that's what that was. Ooh, that's
smells. And
that's a sensory overload. That goes back to like summer '67. Oh, downstairs in the bike room. Okay, well, we're back. We're back. 2024. We're back here.
So I'm curious, and I ask everybody this question, and you amongst many have had the opportunity to play with some of the most legendary musicians who are either still alive or have passed on. I'm envious. I've met Branford Marsalis. I never got to perform with him. But is there someone that you've not been able to, or you not had the opportunity to perform with, whether it's on a stage or in a studio to get creative together? Is there one artist out there today that if you had the chance to create with them for one day, who might that be?
Wayne Shorter. Nah, not even. There are many. Ron Carter, Maestro, definitely. David Sanborn, God rest his soul. I would have loved to play with him. Knew him, but never got into that flow where you're, where they know you and you play and that kind of thing. But I would say Wayne Shorter, because he was such a wonderful human being. I live vicariously through my buddy David Gilmour. Because David played with him during like the high life period, 94 through 97, when he was doing sort of more electric stuff than the later on with the quartet. And Marcus also was on that album. Marcus Miller was on that album with Will Calhoun and Rachel Z, David, Gilmore, and Wayne, definitely, because he's magical. It's for real. I've never felt an energy that was so intense as his, and to speak about things having nothing to do with music, and then the things translate out. It's a total spiritual thing, and that was one thing that I got from him. There are so many things that you can get from you. It's just input. It's input. He was into like deities and fairies. The mystic world, magic. One of his buddies is Neil deGrasse Tyson. The astrophysicist. They were homeboys. It's very interesting human being. I try to get all my students to see Zero Gravity. It's an excellent documentary of Wayne's life, and it was spiritually moving to know him, to speak to him, to listen to him play, to study his music, and then to find out his whole life. We've had similar, negative things happen on our lives. It felt very interesting to see how he dealt with it, like death of a spouse. So it was very interesting to see how he dealt with that during the time. And it would have been great to be in the studio just to, man, let's play a tune that you don't like of yours. That would be one thing I would like to do. Let's play one of the tunes that he didn't like of his.
The way you speak of him, there may be opportunity for tribute down the road somewhere. That's the great story, and you're right. He's a tremendous musician, and you mentioned some other artists along that path, and I think it's important because it's getting late where you are, and I want to make sure that I'm cognizant of your time. I think it's important to think about some of these musicians. What I love about jazz is sometimes these jazz musicians go off and play in other genres, and you find kind of the comfort music of your life, not necessarily in the genre that you even perform, right? There are people in punk rock who love classical. There are people in pop who love jazz, and that's their tomato soup and grilled cheese sandwich. I'm a big proponent, and everybody knows this who watches, to go out and buy music, purchase it, support artists. Reggie has you can buy so much of Reggie's work. You spend the next year buying it. I suggest you go do it. I don't believe in just renting. If you see some of Reggie's music out on a site that streams it, go buy it if you really love it and you want to hold it close. But who, for Reggie, are three artists that you kind of listen to? Maybe you're listening to them now, but they've kind of artists that we can share with other people at the same time. Because I think music is for sharing and giving to other influence, and maybe we'll find someone watching today who's, he's a heavy metal enthusiast and he loves heavy metal, but maybe you mention someone and they go off and they experience this and it brings something to life. Who are three artists that are kind of you've got on rotation in your life?
Not necessarily rotation, but they are inspirations. There's three young musicians, and then there are two older ones. I'll give you an extra couple. Mono Neon, great bassist. I'm probably the younger bunch will know Mono Neon. He's an amazing bassist, and he gives me inspiration every time I'm listening to this young man. Another bassist by the name of Joe Saunders. Joe is a great acoustic bass player, man, with a very, very bombastic way of playing bass. He's really, you can feel this. and it's wonderful to listen to some of his creations. It's kind of strange. I see a lot of me in him in a way, but I think he's further along than I was if we were in the same place. Joe Saunders, excellent player. And the third is a young lady that's in the Black Lives Collective. Her name is Christy Dashiell from Washington, D.C. She's a wonderful young new vocalist, which she's also from a very musical family. And she's incredible. It's wonderful to see when these young musicians you can see when the light comes on and they're learning and they're absorbing. They're taking all this stuff in, and you hear the work. You hear the work that they put in, and they start to grow and blossom. And she's gaining accolades and respect from every place. She was in Downbeat magazine, 5 stars for her album. Oh wow, it's horrible that I don't remember that album name, because I had to learn all the songs because she performed over here in Europe and she needed a band, so of course I'm gonna play with her. But it's wonderful. You need to check out Christy Dashiell. She has 2 CDs out. Those 3 young players definitely digging on. And the 2 older ones is my sister from another mister, Michelle Indigio-Cello. She's recently put out her new James Baldwin. I guess it's James Baldwin Centennial. So she put out a tribute CD, James Baldwin, using his using some of his words, some of his prose in the music. It's excellent. Everybody should definitely check that out. And a new old friend, my man Raul Midon. He's a guitarist from I believe from DC. No, I'm sorry. He is from New Mexico. Yes, New Mexico, and he's living now in Washington, D.C. He had his early stardom in the 90s. He's blind, and he usually plays solo. He's an excellent player. Now he's starting to make a resurgence, and he has a new album out. So I'm gaining inspiration from all these folks. Plus, I got a chance to play with Raul after a long, maybe 20, 30 years of seeing him while he was out on the road. So it was really fun to play and perform with this guy. So yeah, those are the 3 and the +2 old ones.
Hey, you know what? If we've got a 3-2 time signature, we'll play it. We're all good. I appreciate that. Reggie, I can't thank you enough. I'll be honest, we could probably spend a few more hours. We have just scratched the surface. You are the encyclopedia. You are volume 1 and 2 all wrapped up into one, my friend. You are so experienced and knowledgeable. Everybody should go out and learn about Reggie and learn his, find his music, learn about what he's doing, understand what he's doing. Because truly you're a legend. You're truly a fantastic person who's given us fabulous music, and that legacy is going to be around for a very long time.
Thank you. Thank you for giving this platform to myself and fellow musicians. This is not a given, and we all need each other. We all need help. We all need a place to be and flourish in the music and the preparation of the music, the distribution of the music. That's where your job falls, and it's I'm so happy that you are also here. I've done a few of these, and it's so cool to listen to, and also to talk to you and others like you that are making it possible. Just to have us, because we have stories to tell, and the only thing we want to do is let people, hopefully it steers them and also with young musicians hoping that they do not do as we did, you know. You know, just I like to follow, lead by example, and hopefully be on time. Don't drink too much. If you don't have to drink, don't drink. It takes away from the music. It takes away from the creativity. You don't need anything. You need a nice apple juice with a spritzer on it, and maybe a pretzel, and you'll have a great musical evening for sure.
Well, Reggie, I mean, we may do this again sometime. The next time when volume 3 of your project comes out, I think we will do it again. I can't thank you enough. Everybody, this has been such a treat to really dive into Reggie's career and gain some understanding and gain some perspective. So I really thank you. Everyone who's stuck it out with us over this hour, thank you for hanging with us. We're going to continue to bring artists like Reggie to your life, and hopefully you find some inspiration and some knowledge and some little thing that you can take into your musical life. So thank you for subscribing, coming back, Reggie. It's been a pleasure getting to know you. Thanks everybody for hanging us, and we'll see you soon.
Take care.
Bye for now.